Sarah, thanks so much for doing this. Can you tell us a little bit about what ghost plates are and the problem that the police face when faced with the growing ghost plate epidemic?
So ghost plates are number plates which look completely normal to the human eye, but they are invisible to the speed cameras and the police cameras and the red light cameras on our streets. And 6 months ago, I had never heard of ghost plates. And since then, I've become probably Parliament's foremost expert in number plates. And the reason is that I have a huge car racing problem in my constituency. So Saturday nights, Friday nights, 40, 50 cars will race up and down this road. It's incredibly dangerous. I've had young people die in these car races. It's hell for the residents who live on these streets, who can't sleep. It's awful. And I was campaigning for a speed camera, standing on this road with residents, and the police said to me, Sarah, even if you get a speed camera, it's not going to work because all these drivers have got ghost plates. And that was the first I'd ever heard of it.
So the speed camera just won't work. It won't catch the people doing it who have killed people and are responsible for basically ruining an area. But speed camera, there's no point because they just can't trace them.
Exactly. So these number plates have a kind of layer of plastic on them, which means they're invisible to the infrared cameras. So you can race down the road at 100 miles an hour. You can race through a red light. You can do anything and essentially get away with it because these cameras that keep our streets safe, that the police use all the time, just can't read your number plate.
Because the entirety of our road policing relies on these systems called ANPR systems that can actually track number plates. So they can make sure that people are insured. They can trace them if they are, for instance, known to be doing criminal activity. And now, because of widespread use of ghost plates, this is becoming almost useless.
100%. So ANPR stands for automatic number plate recognition. These are cameras that we have across our country that keep our streets safe, but also that the police use to catch serious criminals. So we have antisocial racers using these ghost plates, but also drug dealers are using them. Human traffickers are using them. People doing really bad crime are essentially going around our streets completely unseen, invisible to police. And there's very little deterrent for having one of these plates at all. And it's hugely hampering the police and it's making our streets unsafe for everyone. So we have got to do something to crack down on these ghost plates.
How widespread are these ghost plates?
So there was one study which found that 1 in 15 cars going in and out of Gatwick Airport had a ghost plate. I've spoken to some police forces where they've done enforcement activities and it was 40% of the cars they stopped had a ghost plate. And particularly now in the last few years, you've seen these 3D, 4D plates, which are basically raised characters. A huge amount of them are ghost plates because the plastic material is just completely reflective. So it's a huge problem. It's a problem for racers, but also taxi drivers are using them. And a police officer said to me something that really struck with me, which was that imagine if you saw your mum get into a taxi and just before the taxi driver drove away, they went and unscrewed their number plates and drove off. That is essentially what is happening when people are using ghost plates, and we've got to do something to stop it.
And we actually don't know just how widespread this is, but the signs are pretty bad.
Definitely, and it's definitely got worse in recent years, particularly because of these 3D and 4D number plates, a huge number of which are ghost plates.
And also, what happens to you if you're caught with one?
So the great irony is that if you're caught, and it's very unlikely you're going to be caught because the police have to check every number plate with infrared goggles, if you are caught with a ghost plate, you only get £100 fine. No points on your licence. So what you get for having a ghost plate is less than a speeding fine. It's crazy. It's no disincentive whatsoever for people to use them. And I spoke to a police officer who said, these people know full well what they're doing. He's stopped loads of people with ghost plates, and often they just open their boot and get their real plates out.
So
they know what they're doing, and it's ridiculous that you don't even get any points on your licence.
And there's no legitimate reason to have these plates.
There is
only to avoid detection from police because of basically criminal things that you're doing all the time.
100%. There is no good reason whatsoever to make yourself invisible to speed cameras and police cameras. There is no good reason.
The only reason is to avoid detection and to keep on, for instance, if you're trafficking people, if you're trafficking drugs, if you are racing around town, if you are guilty of other offences that you are trying to hide, that's why you would have one of these plates. And if you're caught with them, it basically doesn't matter.
Yeah, to basically just be lawless on our roads. That's the only reason to have one, because you can race around at 100 miles an hour, you can jump red lights, you can not have insurance, you can go and buy petrol at the petrol station and race away and the cameras won't be able to see you properly. The only reason to have these is to commit crime and to do crazy things on our roads, which puts the rest of us in danger.
What do you think should happen to people if they are found with a ghost plate?
So at a minimum, should be £1,000 fine. £100 fine is not a deterrent. A minimum 6 points. I also think that if you're a taxi driver and you're using one of these, you should lose your taxi license. I think we should also look at seizing cars, because that's where it hurts people who are doing things on our roads, take their vehicles away from them.
How easy is it to get a hold of one of these ghost plates?
It's so easy. It's ridiculous. You can go online. There's tens of thousands of sellers where they're supposed to sell you properly legal plates, which are fully readable. They're selling ghost plates. They're also selling you cloned plates. So you can just give any registration number you want and they will send you that plate. And that's why you've got, grannies in Halifax getting speeding fines for something that was done in Hertfordshire. It's completely outrageous. It's really impacting vulnerable people who can't fight when they get these fines. And we just have a Wild West right now of number plate suppliers across the country. And this is so different from the rest of Europe, where number plates are very highly regulated. In this country, it's just a Wild West.
So you can actually have someone clone your plates, and then you can end up with speeding fines.
Yeah.
You can end up with police investigations, and you will have to try to prove it wasn't you, because anyone can enter your number plate and just print it and put it on their car.
Yeah. So for the DVLA licenses number plate suppliers, and they've licensed over 40,000 in the whole country. Lots of these people are just people in their bedrooms making these plates out of completely fake materials, including ghost plate materials. But you are supposed to check that someone has the ownership details for a car. If you went to Halfords, you would have to show them your ownership details. For most of these websites, you can literally give them any number plate registration number you want, and they will just send you the plate.
And they know what they're doing.
And they know exactly what they're doing. And then people across the country who are vulnerable are getting huge, huge fines. Sometimes they're able to fight them, but sometimes they're not. And it's terrible. And it's ridiculous. And the government needs to do something about the broken number plate system in Britain.
In 2009, there were over 640,000 breathalyzer tests administered by the police. In 2023, that have fallen by over 60% to just 240,000. We're now seeing that it's around about the same number of positive tests. It's not that they are getting better at testing people and only testing the most guilty. It looks like they are simply testing fewer people than ever before, and as a result, fewer people are getting caught. Our concern at Crush Crime is that policing isn't getting more accurate. We just aren't testing. I'd like to know your thoughts on what you think about this and what you think the police should be doing.
Yeah, I think people are doing terrible stuff on our roads. They're drink driving and they're getting away with it. And clearly, it's not that there's been a huge reduction in drink driving. It's just that people aren't getting caught. They aren't getting tested. And so we need to change that. And the police should be taking this seriously, because when people drink drive, they don't just take their own life into their hands. They take everyone else's lives into their hands as well. And often people end up killed. I've had so many constituents who've lost loved ones through other people's selfish, dangerous driving.
Many of these offenders, particularly those who are repeat offenders, face sometimes minimal time in prison, but also, and perhaps even more surprisingly, face very minimal driving bans. Some of them are back on the roads within only a few years, even after their second or third offence being caught drink driving. What do you think should happen?
Yeah, I think that's crazy. I think if you've been caught drink driving, dangerous driving multiple times, you should have your licence taken away.
You shouldn't be able to drive ever
You should
again.
not be able to drive. No, it's not your right to be on the roads and do whatever you want on the roads and put everyone else in danger. And these repeat offenders, that is exactly what they're doing. And I do think we just need to say enough is enough. Your licence is gone. This lady in Rochdale, an older lady, paid a rogue trader £15,000. She thought he was going to fix her roof. He drove off, never to be seen again. And the local trading standards thought, we'll be able to catch this person because we know there's ANPR cameras on the road. And they had his number plate. They look on the ANPR system. He's disappeared. There is no record anywhere on the system of this vehicle moving around Rochdale. Even they know he was there and they know that he scammed this lady out of her money. Eventually, through old-fashioned police and resource work, they found him. And lo and behold, he had a ghost plate. So luckily, in this instance, they found him. But imagine the thousands of other examples of criminals and rogue traders who are scamming people and getting away with it because they've got ghost plates. That is why we've got to do something about this.
And the entire system, our entire policing system on the roads is reliant on ANPR.
Yeah.
And increasingly, this is completely useless because we are not clamping down on the very items built cheaply and quickly to get around the entire legal system of our roads. And at the moment, our legal system is doing nothing about this.
Yeah, ANPR keeps us safe. You can buy one of these for £40 and you will be invisible to these cameras, essentially. And we have got to do something about it. Also, like, you could go on Auto Trader now and think about every single car that you look at, you can just clone that plate. And what they do is, okay, so there's like a silver Renault Captur available on Auto Trader, and that's my car. So I'm just going to copy that plate, put it on my car. And so like they get the right type of car as well. So it matches on the system.
Wow, that's really sophisticated.
Yeah. So like, but it's bloody easy. So once upon a time, it was hard to get a number plate. You had to show your VS5 document. Now, because of this crazy Wild West of 40,000 suppliers, plus they're the registered suppliers, plus all the illegal suppliers, you can literally do whatever you want. And it's very hard for the police to catch you because it requires an ANPR, what they call like an impossible journey. So sometimes the national ANPR system will be like, this car was seen at 4 p.m. in Scotland, and then we saw it at 6 p.m. in Sussex. And therefore that's an impossible journey. So there's something going wrong here. But that also requires like an enormous amount of like resource to go, like in theory, it should be automated. And there should be like, this is an invisible journey, this is an impossible journey, something's going wrong here. But also if you've got a ghost plate as well, if it's like a ghost cloned plate, you're like screwed.
Yeah, I mean, it is complete system collapse.
Yeah,
basically.
it's system collapse. And like they really, to become a registered supplier, all you have to do is pay £40, one off to the DVLA online. That's it.
And what does the DVLA do to follow up? Do they do anything?
The DVLA has 4 enforcement officers for the entire country who are responsible for checking 40,000 suppliers.
So, okay. So, police are no longer doing breathalyzers. The ANPR systems aren't functioning. And the DVLA has allowed 40,000 different outlets to sell different suppliers to sell number plates. And they have only 4 enforcement officers for the entire country to check if anyone is doing that actually legally.
Yeah, it sounds crazy when you say it, but this is the truth. And that's why we've got so many deaths on the road. We've got lawless driving and people just don't feel safe. People just want to feel safe driving to work, driving their kids to school, but they don't. And this is part of the huge problem that it's our responsibility to fix.
And it's not just, of course, driving. It's also all the people on the roads. It's pedestrians. It puts everyone in danger. Yeah. These are crimes which put all of us all the time, whenever we're outside of our homes, in immediate danger if we actually have, which now it seems more and more, broken systems and lawlessness on our streets.
Yeah, it absolutely does. I drive around West Bromwich and I feel worried that I'm going to get smashed into by someone with a ghost plate or someone with a clone plate and people who just get away with it. And everyone else feels unsafe and no one is doing anything about these people. So that is why we must change the law to crack down on ghost plates, but also to fix this crazy Wild West system, which somehow has come to be.